I'm going to hand it over to Steve and Bruce. One second. Bruce, do you want to go ahead and put up that slideshow for us?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Able to see the screen okay?
We are. Okay, so Steve, you want to take us through what is the new with Janitorial? I know we have a lot of people with questions, and we'd like to have the experts tell us.
Okay, well, I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their busy day to join us. What's new in Janitorial? So what we've done here is the slides that we are presenting today is kind of a framework of how are we going to get back to the new norm? How are we going to reopen our buildings? And when it comes to janitorial, what can you expect? There's a lot of challenges that the building owners and managers are going to have to consider when it comes to social distancing, scope changes, infection control, and mechanical systems in your buildings. There's two areas that we need to look at: the return to work plan, which we have to consider space considerations, security, healthy workplace, building logistics, and social distancing, along with the janitorial plan and the effects when it comes to the infection control procedures, making sure our crews are skilled and trained properly, making sure that we're training them on the products and equipment and new processes and procedures moving forward. The return to work plan to assist our clients and customers in reopening their buildings, driving partnership and having an organized approach. That's the most important thing, is having an organized approach. As we know, this is a fluid situation, and everything changes minute by minute. We want to make sure that we are working in the safest manner possible, presenting new processes, looking at our workflows, including best practices from BOMA, IFMA, CDC, OSHA, and NIOSH, and making sure that we are a good resource through ABLE and our vendor partners. Part of our document that we sent out to our clients is we made sure that they had checklists and surveys. These checklists and surveys are for our clients directly to make sure that we are giving them an opportunity to start thinking about the reopener. Also, what we need to talk about as a framework when it comes to what we're going to do as a janitorial company moving forward when it comes to a heightened level of disinfecting and how we're going to accomplish that. Leveraging our expertise is extremely important. Assist with developing site surveys, guidance on new products and technology, making sure that we are cost effective and minimizing the third-party contractors to come in and do some of these heightened disinfecting models, especially when it comes to a direct case of COVID in a particular suite. As you know, the supply chain has been strained. So it is extremely important that whatever we do as a company, that we are doing everything possible and being flexible when it comes to the supply chain. So how do you do that? You have to have, plans developed, A, B, C plans, and communicating that to our clients. With the way the supply chain is running now, we can be using a disinfectant today and completely have to change what we're doing tomorrow. And the only way you can accomplish that is to make sure that you're working directly with your chemical manufacturers and your equipment manufacturers, and you have a plan developed in case of something that you can't get your hands on per se. So communication is the utmost importance. So if we're making a switch to a different chemical or a device, you need to be able to communicate that to your clients effectively so they understand what's going on in their account. We also want to make sure that we're managing risk and safety. So we have anywhere from our risk department, our safety department, our procurement department. We are constantly looking at the chemicals and equipment that we are bringing into the buildings to make sure that they're adequate in doing the job and also safe for our employees and the occupants of the buildings. Bruce?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So, again, Steve's talked about, we've looked at, the two buckets with the return to work plan as well as the new janitorial program. And so really, health and safety considerations really fall into both buckets. But from a starting point, it's really essential for, building owners and managers to really reflect on what are the changes that are going to happen at the site level. What specific changes related to the CDC guidelines? Will you have new social distancing floor plans where you have to increase the amount of space in between cubicles or offices and seating areas? What will the cafeterias or any kind of common spaces look like? And so understanding what those site-specific changes need to look like will impact whether or not you need to stagger your start and stop time for shifts. It will determine your volume limitations for the numbers of people that can be allowed in the lobby or even on your elevator cars. And so those site-specific changes will then impact what needs to be communicated. And so really the second thing under health and safety is around communication and making sure that whatever changes are implemented or designed into your reopening plan really are communicated well and effectively. And so in our return to work plan that we've assembled as a company, as a resource for our clients and our customers, we really intended it to be interwoven with our vendor relationships and the products and the tools that we can bring to bear. So in our return to work plan, you will find connections and links to our vendor partners for everything from signage, wayfinding signage, floor markings, entryway systems, all of the types of things that we as a vendor partner can bring to the table to help you as you're developing your return to work plan. So along that line, it will be health screening. And this is a huge topic right now, whether you're watching the 6 o'clock or the 11 o'clock news, it's all over, what the government is working toward to implement as far as health screening policies for companies to reopen. And so as a building owner, as an operator, there will be the need to come up with some of these answers to these questions. So what will the new protocol for the building be? Where will that take place? What is the process going to be to ensure privacy and discretion of the people that are having their temperatures taken? If somebody is determined that they're running a temperature, will there be a secondary screening location for them to go to so that they're not temperature shamed, as the new buzzword is out in the industry, where we have to protect building occupants and employees' privacy and their rights. We need to determine, within the facility, where will these screenings take place? And then what type of a screening program would be put in place? Would it be a contact screening where you'll have somebody with a thermometer reading the temperature of somebody's forehead and recording that in some type of a mobile device or a log sheet? Or will you have more of a non-contact screening system, like a standalone thermal imaging that can be set up in a lobby and can screen 20, 30 people per second in your location? So again, those are some of the strategies that have to be determined as buildings are planning to reopen. Steve?
Yeah, so we've as a company has joined a janitorial coalition. As you can see at the bottom of this slide, the different companies that have have joined up on this. And this is extremely important. As y'all know, as everyone knows, we are we're an essential employee base, and it is extremely important that we get the proper PPE, chemicals, equipment when it's necessary to perform our duties. And, you know, making sure that we come together as a group, because we're all in this together. And we need to make sure that we're taking care of not just the tenants and the occupants of the properties, but also our crews that are out there working tirelessly day in and day out. So us being a part of this coalition has really helped when it comes to federal, state, and local governments to make sure that they do recognize that we are essential. And we have a little video here to thank the men and women out there that are out there making this happen day in and day out.
All right, technical.
A little technical difficulty here. This all worked a minute ago. There we go.
We are not playing.
As Steve is
Here we
speaking,
go.
if you guys have any questions, feel free to use the chat feature.
All right, I should pull it up. Sorry about that.
So what's new in janitorial? So what we've done is we wanted to make sure that we, again, took an organized approach to what we're doing. We wanted, you know, as you can see at the bottom of the screen here, we have 3 different levels of service. And every building is going to be different, and each level is going to be different to the pertains to that specific building. So what should happen here is, you know, this is all about a framework or a blueprint per se on what best fits your account and what best fits the needs of your tenants and occupants when it comes to a heightened sense of disinfection. The previous mindset in infection control, you know, Able Services and most companies out there have been doing infection control or disinfecting models for the past 30 years plus. You know, using it as additional services, billed back to the tenants, periodic work to be done as needed, and conducting disinfecting models during cold and flu season. The new mindset now moving forward, this is something that is required on reopening business as an essential service, will be added to routine scope, a differentiator for building owners and managers to retain occupants and attract new tenants. The tenants will expect from us the assurance of the building cleanliness, making sure we're using certified EPA registered disinfectant. making sure we're doing disinfection control processes, standard operating procedures, and using cutting edge technology. The COVID-19 pandemic has altered how tenants are viewing cleaning, disinfecting services. When it comes to this, we have to be able to be flexible in how we present this to our clients, and build a framework on what best fits their needs. You know, we want to be a trusted partner. We want to show guidance on disinfecting, expertise from their service provider, and be transparent in communication. And that's the most important thing. Working together and being a partner to make sure that we are setting the right processes in place to control this infection that's going on out there today. And also making sure we have long-term strategies to reduce exposure. So as we move along in this demonstration here, we'll explain all that. So Bruce, can you take us through our timeline as when we first started this process?
Yeah, sure, Steve. Thank you. So, again, as Steve's been talking about the return to work plan and the strategies around the new cleaning, really this has been a project and a process that's been going on really since the start of the new year. We've been kind of invested in this with communications out to the field, communications to clients and building occupants. We've been involved with, really building the corporate protocols for, addressing COVID-19, what will be the response, what will be the infection control procedures. As Steve alluded to, we've been cleaning and disinfecting buildings, for decades. When the green cleaning program came along, disinfecting chemicals and some of those products have been kind of removed out of some of the cleaning programs or kind of moved to the sidelines for specialty work. And now we're really seeing a resurgence of bringing in these disinfectants and developing an infection control methodology. And so really we've taken the last several months to really formulate those, bring those best practices that we've had for a number of years, kind of formulate those into some of the documentation that you see here on the left-hand side of the screen, whether it's our infection control manual, whether it's our return to work plan or our cleaning and disinfecting guidelines. We wanted to have a comprehensive approach to how Able Services was going to address this so that our customers and clients have something to look at, something to rely on as the standards that we will be following. And so obviously as we kind of migrate more through the timeline, you can see that we've now rolled that out. We've rolled out the training programs to certify our staff and so forth, and are now working to, alongside building owners to start reopening some properties and some buildings where necessary.
Our solution has always been driven around people, process, and technology. And as we talk further along with this, it is extremely important to us that we train our employees in best in class in equipment and process, a 3-tiered approach we'll explain a little bit later, proper PPE, fit testing, EPA registered disinfected that are located on list N, and after action client reporting when it comes to a hot zone situation where we need to go in and do disinfecting. We're going through an extensive training program right now when it comes to us disinfecting and going into a COVID hot zone. We didn't want to be the company that just jumped out ahead of everybody and start doing these kinds of work until we had everybody properly trained, fit testing handled. And, by doing that, we want to make sure we're covering the pathogens, process and procedures, the use of equipment, and making sure that the respirators fit properly before they go into these places. After we go through this process, everybody will get a certificate of achievement, and at that time we'll be going in, they'll be allowed to go in and help us minimize the effect and disinfect these areas so people can get back to work safely. Here are our processes. We got 3 different levels of process. So level 1 is pretty much, the standard human mechanical wipe down with disinfectant, which we're using to when we alter specifications to present, or if a tenant or a client wants a heightened level. So whether that be once a week or twice a week or every night, this is the level that we would probably be going to, and it is just as effective as level 2. Our level 2 disinfecting model is more of a heightened level with a mechanical process in place, like, for instance, your electrostatic guns, things like that. The most important thing to remember when it comes to using electrostatic equipment is how much disinfectant are going in these tanks. I can't see the number right now, but it's anywhere from 530 some to 600 parts per million. And that all is driven by the kill time and dwell time that needs to be effective. When you move into a level 3, that's actually when we're going in and disinfecting an area that has had a confirmed case of COVID. That parts per million, as you can see, will jump up over 1,000 parts per million. But, we're going to be following what the recommendations are by the manufacturer that we're using. So we have to remember that to get your hands on some of this stuff is going to be very difficult. So we're going to be using different types of technology depending on what we can get our hands on at the time. And you have to be very cognizant about what type and how much chemical are going in these tanks before we put it on surface and putting it up in the air column. Bruce?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So again, as Steve mentioned, our solution is really built around people, process, technology, and data. And so really the first thing that we wanted to do is we kind of culminated our resources. We wanted to build a cloud-based digital library so that our reliable response team, those individuals that have been certified and are able to go into these hot zones or these contaminated spaces to really perform the disinfection and infection control services that are needed, have with them the technology and to provide them the resources. So if they need safety data sheets, or if they need the instruction cards on cleaning specific work types or area types, they have that information available to them on their mobile devices while they're on the job site and have it available.
Part of the training when it comes to the reliable response in these hot zones is you have to understand there's a regiment you have to follow. You just can't go in and just start disinfecting and spraying the chemical up into the air columns and things like that. You have to have a regiment that you need to follow every time you do something like this. Like, for instance, if you walk into a hot area and disinfect it, you need to start from the furthest end of the suite and disinfect your way out. So you're ahead of the disinfecting model as you clean yourself or disinfect your way out of the suite. So you're not adding any cross-contamination or anything like that. So there's got to be specific regiments per location when we go in and do these types of services.
Absolutely. And again, on the same line of technology, we also wanted to create a library of best practices and innovative technology that can be made available to our clients and our building owners. Again, as was mentioned earlier in the presentation, everybody and their brother is coming out right now with what they feel is the right way, the right methodology, the right chemical, the right process to clean and disinfect. And as a contracted service provider, as a trusted partner and a reliable resource, we have the resources within the company that can test these equipment, can validate the program, validate the efficacy of the chemicals in the program, so that there's science and math behind what we're doing, that you as building owners, building managers, customers, and clients have the assurances of what you can convey back to your occupants on the services and the levels that are being done within your property. So again, it's really around the people, the process, the technology, and then ultimately the data, right? And we recognize that, with any of these processes, there may be a need to kind of do a pre and a post benchmark evaluation. Where are we at? What's our levels? Can we do some ATP testing to determine the bio load ahead of the disinfecting service, test it again after the fact, and provide those results? That's probably not necessary or required with every cleaning, but in certain cases, that may be something that a building owner is looking for. And so Able Services has the program and the ability to do that type of testing.
And sorry, Bruce. And we want to make sure that everybody completely understands, you know, as Bruce was saying earlier, that you're going to see everything from soup to nuts when it comes to chemicals and equipment and all this new technologies that's coming out. And there's in some cases circumventing the contractor and going directly to property management and discussing these things. What you need to understand is you need to use your contractor as a sounding board. We are constantly doing the due diligence and the research behind to make sure that the chemicals and equipment, the things that we're bringing into the building these days actually do what we need them to do effectively without harming, the people and the occupants in the building and, the furniture and the fixtures that are throughout the building. Because when in a lot of cases, when it comes to hospital grade disinfectants and things like that, they can be very corrosive. So us as contractors, we need to make sure that we are vetting all these things for you before we introduce them into your buildings. And on top of that, we got to watch, the cost associated with all of this. And there, it's just because somebody has this great product doesn't mean that it's going to be great for your facility. So please use your contractors as a sounding board before moving towards these types of things.
Yeah, great point, Steve. Thank you. So I guess as I would wrap up with the data, data is only as good as you make it effective and useful for the reporting needs. So with that comes the communication. And so what we're doing is we're making sure that as we do some of these higher level infection services, that we are capturing the details of the job. We're able to capture the photographs. Videos can be taken where permitted or appropriate, so that again, we can help our clients and customers communicate this through the use of looping content on elevator screens or touch screens in the lobby or common areas, whether it's a client newsletter or building communication. We can provide this. This is going to be the hot topic that building occupants are interested in and looking for details around. And so building service providers and contractors should be a good source of that information to provide. So Steve, if you want to take the summary.
Yes, sir. So in summary, training our people is the utmost importance. Cutting edge programs for infection control and disinfection, standard operating procedures, provide data and reporting that matters. Be a trusted partner. Introduce industry technology and innovations. Partner and to minimize the supply chain disruptions. Drive value and communication efforts with building occupants. And we have a short video here to this kind of frames our reliable response team. So I hope you enjoy that.
Our priority is the health and safety of our
I
employees.
don't see the video.
We're doing more than ever to deliver health and safety solutions for your facility. Able Services has developed our own brand of specialized services to meet your needs. Our newly deployed, certified, and trained group is accurately called the Reliable Response Team. Fully trained in proper use of PPE, EPA disinfecting, and certified by Able Services, we're ready to work for you. We specifically designed a multi-tiered approach to meet the requirements of your facility's needs. Our Reliable Response Team has the necessary training in the following: chemical safety, bloodborne pathogens, hazardous communications, methods of application for EPA-registered disinfectants, personal protective equipment. Able's deployment of disinfecting services includes innovative electrostatic sprayers, using the most advanced disinfectant available to treat contaminated spaces, ensuring your occupants can return to a safe and healthy environment. Contact us today to schedule time with our Reliable Response Team.
So I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us on this presentation. I guess it's time to see if we have any questions.
Steve, we did have a question come through. One of the first one is, what percentage of customers are coming back to you to review contracts to make changes and or adjustments to the scope?
All of them.
Okay.
So yes, so basically what everybody's trying to do and what they are doing is we are altering scopes, and so we can provide some sort of heightened disinfecting off of the base specification. Now anything above and beyond that, the tenant would have to contact us to contract directly through them or through us to achieve their needs. This can get out of control when it comes to cost very quickly. So, again, we're all in this together. There's only so far that the property managers and the owners can take and to give these kind of services to their tenants. Anything above and beyond that would have to be done directly through the tenant, and which is not a problem. We can do that, and we have been doing that. But by altering some of your scopes and redoing, looking at different ways to bring in a heightened sense of disinfection to the property, that again, we all have to be flexible and understand that, we're coming out of the gate. This is a fluid situation. I know there's going to be more changes to come down the road, but right now, today, a lot of people are coming and they want to know what we can do to be more cost effective and more of a cost neutral basis and be able to deliver that disinfecting model to the tenants to a point.
Is there any new standard of janitorial that is being implemented across the board through janitorial companies? So I know you typically have, cleaning restrooms and taking out trash nightly and mopping floors in break rooms or kitchens. Is there something that's going to be a standard now that maybe wasn't before?
Yeah, so once we're introducing the heightened disinfection model, as everybody knows, for every action, there's a reaction. So by looking at your vacuuming scopes and your dusting scopes and things like that, your contractor will be able to help build a process and a model around your specific building. That's pretty much it. And the main thing is we gotta, when we have process and people come back to work, we still have to take out trash. We still have to vacuum. We still have to stock restrooms and all these things. Well, how are we going to do all these things plus do the disinfecting as well? And that's what it's all about, being flexible and working with your client to come up with a format or a process that fits that particular model or that particular building, so they can achieve what they're trying to achieve with a little as cost as possible. Now, there are going to be circumstances where we're not going to have a choice but to add labor and to be able to achieve these things, especially when people start thinking about opening their cafeterias and opening their food courts and opening their gyms and things like that. And even cleaning a fire stairwell, we're used to doing it like once every couple of weeks or once a month. But with the social distancing, I think a lot of property management companies are going to have to open their stairwells so you can get people up to their suites timely. So you're just not standing in these long lines every day trying to get up the elevator. So there's a lot of things that we have to look at, and what works well in one property may not work at all in another. So that's why it's the utmost importance that a good open line of communication, so we can develop these models that best fits each and every client.
Yeah, Stephen, I think if I could add to that, from my standpoint, kind of managing some of the development of our programs that we're offering to our clients, some of the things that I'm seeing and hearing, clients are looking for ways to track the high touch point disinfection. So whether it's it's a token, whether it's a QR code in some of these areas that the staff are actually scanning and able to track where they're going, how often they're doing it, so that there's some, again, tangible data that can be used to convey those messaging. I think probably one of the other things I'm hearing is, and I think we actually added it on one of the slides, where what are the considerations for adding whether it's a hygiene ambassador or a floor steward. People are looking for creative ways to really focus and harness the level of disinfection and cleanliness of the facility. And so I know in some areas, even in the construction sites, they're requiring porters that can do really nothing more than travel around and do the high touch disinfecting. So I think you're probably going to see some of those trends happening as well.
And the more we move along with this, we may see a 20 or 30% increase in cost in janitorial. We have a governor that has put a panel together to help bring things to the building industry, how we're going to clean them moving forward. We're all anxiously awaiting that. But depending on what is the demand is, we could see a 20 to 30% increase across the board in the near future.
Okay. Steve, we have another question. What are the best questions to ask my janitorial company, and what are the hardest questions to answer?
Could you repeat that again? Sorry.
What are the best questions to ask my janitorial company, and what are the hardest questions to answer?
Cost. What we're going to do as a company and what you need to do as a property management company to be able to deliver what your tenants' expectations are. And the hardest things, the hardest topic to ever talk about is cost. So it is extremely important that you work with your vendor and your service provider, that you try to capture this the best way possible. But there's going to be circumstances where there's no way around it. It's extremely important that everybody looks down the same road when it comes to this. We're not trying to go out and nickel dime and penny pinch and do all these things to make this thing happen. There's going to be a new mindset moving forward, as we alluded to in the previous slides, that in some cases, in a lot of cases, in some point, that there's no way we can get around the cost. Cost is king and money is king, and we all understand that we want to do the best we can do for our clients and customers, but there will be situations that we're going to have to discuss that.
Yeah, I would add to that too, Steve. The other side of that cost coin is capabilities, and what are the janitorial company's capabilities that they can deliver for the building owner or the occupant. So I think cost and capabilities. Do they have a program that will meet the needs for the level of infection control or disinfection that are going to be required going forward? So I think those are probably the hardest questions. And the ones to answer would probably be around the same topic: cost, and then what is the methodology and the science behind the program that your janitorial company has put together for that purpose.
Thank you, Bruce. That is a good point.
If you guys have any other questions, please use the chat feature. I have one more that says, so for now, there's opportunity for swapping labor around. How much should we plan on increasing our budget for the gym, stairwells, kitchens, when those come back on?
Well, it just depends on what you think needs to be done in these areas. Like, for instance, I have clients that every time somebody climbs off a treadmill, we're going to have somebody there to disinfect it and make it ready to go. Food courts, we have to have, especially in retail areas where you have people coming in and out all day long, we're going to have people stationed there on a full shift. So when somebody gets up and they're done eating, that we bust that table, clear that table, and disinfect that. And, of course, perception is everything, and being optic and being visual is everything. If people see us in the buildings disinfecting and getting people, making sure things are clean and disinfected, it makes people feel a lot more safe when they're coming to work and using these amenities. And these are the kinds of things we've got to look at. So, you're looking at, it really depends on the size. It really depends on the need. Your janitorial company, you need to discuss that with, and you can definitely put some pricing together to prepare your budgets for the upcoming year.
Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Oh, you know what, Bruce, you mentioned being able to track scan the last time that high touch point areas were disinfected or cleaned. Is there a price estimate on installing those throughout the property?
Well, again, it's going to depend on the size of the property, the number of staff that you have, the number of mobile devices that are required. So there's kind of a lot of different elements that go into the programs that we set up. So it really is going to fluctuate.
Okay, so for right now, there's not like a cost per square foot.
Not a cost per square foot, no. It's really based on the program and the utilization. So there's a software and a technology behind it. So there's a license set up, but there's also acquiring a mobile device. You know, whether you're using a token, like an NFC chip token, or a barcode or a QR code, that's not really the cost of the program. It's really, you know, the mobile device or the technology used to scan, as well as the back-end software that we build and put in. So.
And
Okay.
sorry, and the coalition that we work with, you know, these are the kinds of things that we discuss, you know, the increase in cost and service models and things like that. The coalition has been a terrific thing to be a part of, because, you know, you're not, there'll always be your competition, but in a situation like this, I am very proud to see the contractors coming together and sharing best practices and discussing these types of things. So when we convey the message to our clients that it's a united front, and that everybody understands the reasoning behind these things.
Okay. Well, thank you, Steve and Bruce, for sitting on this lunch and learn with us to go over some new janitorial scope of work. We want to make sure to thank our sponsor, VFS, as well as our annual platinum partners, Able Services, ABM, Allied Universal, MCOR, and LBA. So if there are no further questions, thank you all and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Good time.
Bye.
Bye.